If you apply to fellowship, you want to make sure that you are not making any of these mistakes. Now, these mistakes are very common, but they are also easy to fix. Now, let's get to it. Number one, when writing our experiences in our CV, we do not quantify our experience. Now, what does this mean? Now, usually when we write our experiences, we say something like, I went to this rotation, I was with this physician, we saw this patient, and I did this procedure. And that's it. That's what most people do. But how you're supposed to approach this is using a formula. You use an action verb plus what you did plus an outcome or an impact. For example, I led a QI project that improved INR compliance by 20%. Or coordinated the discharge of X amount of patients per week. I collaborated with the discharge care managers to ensure the reduction of 30 days readmission rates. What you are doing, you are simply tweaking what you already have in your CV. You are adding numbers, you are adding outcomes. That is very important. I put a template in the comment section. You could download the template for free. It has the checklist of every single thing you need to go through your CV just before you submit. And if you like content like this, don't forget to smash the subscribe button. Number two, the personal statement sounds like AI, or at least has some derivatives of AI. In the advent of AI, a lot of us are using AI for our daily activities. However, when writing your personal statement, you have to make sure that we don't have traces of AI in your personal statement. How you can achieve this is after writing your personal statement, after looking through the grammar, after giving people to look through it, you have to run it through an AI detector and make sure it's not predominantly AI. You could run it through platforms like GPT-0 to make sure that your personal statement is not heavy on AI. Number three, double listing your research. Most of us, when we write our research in errors, it is a little bit of confusion. Whether I put stuff that was published, whether I put stuff that was in poster. And there's a temptation for us to put stuff that we have published in our published section and stuff that we also presented at poster sessions in our poster session. What I want you to do is pick one. For me, what I personally did was the abstract that I have submitted to ACC, AHA, and conferences that I also presented as poster. If they were already published, I put them in the published section. And for the posters that I presented in my program and the ACP, the ones that weren't necessarily published or were not published in a cardiology specific journal, I put them in poster session. That is how I did it. So pick one and choose. And the reason for this is, number one, it makes your CV unnecessarily buff. And number two, you don't want to come off as being dishonest. Number four is putting old experiences or irrelevant experiences. Sometimes there's the temptation for us to just put stuff that we've done 10 years ago, 20 years ago that are not necessarily in keeping with our current application. I advise you to trim that out. You want to keep your CV as trim but robust as possible. So the less experiences you include but high yield experiences, the better your CV looks. And lastly, is signaling. Not every fellowship program uses signaling, specifically for cardiology programs. Signaling is very new and most of us don't have experiences with it. But from my experience getting interviews, if you have 20 signals, how you can appropriate programs to signal is a formula of 5, 10, 5. 5 programs that are a little bit above your reach, 10 programs that are within your reach, and 5 programs that you'll be comfortable with. And how you can tell if the program is within your reach is to look at the program. The last 5 years in that program, have they matched anybody from your kind of program? Someone that has your kind of CV. Just being honest with yourself, has the program matched anybody that has my same profile? If they have not, it's less likely that they will match you. But if they have, then it's more likely that they will invite you for an interview and possibly match you. Of course, even after signaling programs, you want to apply broadly. But regardless, you want to use your signaling very wisely. Finally, I wanted to touch on the things that we should be doing right now in order to make sure that our application is solid. Number one, let your mentors know that you'll be applying. Let them know that you are done with your application and then you've applied and you are thankful to them for the things that they've done for you and looking forward to their contribution during this interview season. Because some mentors will help you reach out to programs, so you want to give them heads up. And secondly, you also want to reach out to fellows. Now, you have to reach out to fellows, but do that strategically. And what does this mean? Reach out to people who are in PGY 5 and above. The new PGY 4s are just brand new to the program. It is less likely that they can successfully advocate for you. Now, you can still try that, but it is less likely. So if you want to reach out, you preferably will reach out to people who are in PGY 5 and above. Also, right now, if you're on social media, you can be adding program directors, coordinators on LinkedIn, on Facebook. Just use social media to leverage networking. You can add them so that in the next few weeks, you can start sending a message about your desire to interview in their program. That may help your cause. And finally, submit your application early. Wishing you good luck. Do not forget to like and subscribe. As usual, I'll see you in the next one.